Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as on facebook.com/OneNewsPH. And you can also watch us on YouTube by the keyboard punching in One News PH. You can also watch us if you download the Signal Play app. Okay, maraming salamat po sa mga nanonood sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas at ng mundo, even those abroad. Thank you for your letters of encouragement, your confirmation, and your support. Okay, let's go into the program. Today, we have two interviewees, both doctors, and baka sakaling may mga katanungan kayo. You may have questions, issues, or concerns regarding vaccines and regarding certain medicines. First of all, we will be speaking with Dr. Nina Gloriani, head of the Department of Science and Technology Vaccine Expert Panel. Nakatrabaho ko na po si Dr. Gloriani in a forum, and I found her presentations very educational, very insightful, and baka naman today we will be able to touch on some of the questions that are not often addressed by expert panels, by forums, and we will find out. Then we will have a regular on the guest, Dr. Beaver Tamesis, Managing Director of Merck Sharp and Dome Philippines. Kung medyo parang familiar yung Merck Sharp and Dome o yung Merck kasi po yung Merck, they are the manufacturer. Well, they own the patent, or they did own the patent. They were the ones who put out ivermectin into the market. And then there is also a new product now in the making na gamot sa COVID or something like that, na pills. Wala namang injection, pills lang. Things are developing so fast, okay? Things are developing so fast that nowadays, what's happening is, pinag-uusapan pa lang last month, ginagamit na this month. So we will speak with Dr. Beaver Tamesis because we can find out from them. As the Managing Director of MSD in the Philippines, what exactly is the score? Para magkaintindihan. Kasi everyone is listening to expert this, expert that, but parang hindi natin nadidinig yung manufacturer or at least yung developer, yung inventor, etc. But before that, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. It's modified enhanced community quarantine for the National Capital Region and its neighboring provinces until the end of the month. Today, Malacanang said it will clarify the difference between MECQ and ECQ. Curfew, meanwhile, has been adjusted to 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. Yan na po yung sinasabi ng marami. A lot of people commented last night and even in the afternoon because marami nang nakaalam nito eh. Kumbaga, tell us something we don't know, di ba? Many people already knew that there would be MECQ. What many people don't know is what's the difference, Joe? Kasi meron nga nagtanong sa akin, pamangkin ko nagtanong may curfew pa ba? Malay ko, maat pa. Malay ko, pakialam ko, kaming mga senior citizen, we are the IATF detainees, di ba? So hindi kami, forever na lang kaming naka-curfew. Anyway, that's the situation. So yung curfew, imbis na 6 to 5, ay 8 to 5. And Malacanang will make the clarifications. Ayan, nauna na naman po yung dada kaysa sa gawa. Bakit po? Kasi dapat naman you had 2 weeks. You had a week, 2 weeks. You could have just figured all of that. You've had a year and a half. So anyway, moving forward, some hospitals are now offering home care for COVID-19 patients with mild symptoms. This as healthcare system, particularly in Metro Manila, continues to approach its limit. Ay, nako. Matagal na pong maraming nag-home care, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend. I was once again reminded of the tragedy of Philippine healthcare. Meron po ditong laborer na lumapit dito sa barangay, lumapit sa akin. May daladalang 4 na pirasong reseta at saka laboratory findings, etc. Ang sabi kasi po yung asawa ko may goiter, pagkatapos ninanana po yung mga paa, tapos yung puso po niya may problema. And so I went through the documents and then I sent it to my friend Dr. Mike Sarte. And at the end, then suddenly I realized it was December 2020. Pagkatapos sa bottom line nakasulat, admit immediately ER. Pagkat sabi ko, pumunta ba kayo sa ospital? Hindi po. Bakit? Kasi po wala po kaming pera. Many people, especially our poor kababayans, don't even know anything about PhilHealth. Buong linggo po, Sabado-Linggo, pilit namin hinahanap yung mga tiga PhilHealth. Si Mr. Balena po, or Balena, ay may trangkaso daw at yung kanilang presidente ay mukhang sa Malacanang lang nagpapa-interview. Okay? Anyway, ayun po, no? If many people don't even know that they can go to the hospital without having to worry about bills, then the PhilHealth is not doing its job. It is failing in its mission. The other reason we were trying to hunt down the PhilHealth representative is because I've also heard so many stories this past few weeks, yung bang mga nakakonfine sa hospital na may COVID. Miat-miya, kinakatok ng billing section, representative ng billing accounting department of the hospitals they are in, and they're being asked to update their payments. Parang, teka, ano, what the hell is going on here? Akala ba natin no balance billing? Wala nang babayaran ang Pilipino, etc., etc. Ayun, biglang may package. So, yung PhilHealth, pangako po ng mga politika, mga politiko. Okay, napolitika na yung kalusugan ng mga Pilipino. Moving forward, okay, the Department of Health has detected 382 more variant cases of COVID-19 in the country. This includes the UK variant, the South African variant, Brazil variant, and the P3 which was first detected here in the Philippines. Hindi pa ninyo na-detect yung DOH variant. Yun yata yung pinakamatinding variant sa lahat. UR variant in BA. Naku, mahirap na. Okay, let's go forward to our program. May I just insert here, may oras pa naman ng konti, Gab, no? May I just insert, I will try to read it later in the program, but if I don't get the chance, may I invite our viewers, kahit online po, no? Puntahan lang ninyo yung Philippine Star website, Facebook page. Nandun po yung column ko na no compassion in compassionate use. Kasi po, pinangangalandakan ng DOH and FDA itong compassionate use authority or permit para naman daw matulungan yung mga talagang grabe na. Ang problema po, itong compassionate use na yon, kailangan yung doktor susulat sa FDA at sasabihin, aakuhin ko, sasaluhin ko, ako ang mananagot kung anuman ang kalalabasan at mangyari. I will take full responsibility for anything that happens to the patient. Number 1. Number 2, sabi ng FDA, the medicine has to have a substantial or clinical trial in the country of origin, etc., etc. Tapos may nagsabi na mga doktor at mga expert daw na kung insufficient clinical evidence, hindi daw dapat gamitin. Sabi raw ng mga experts. Sabi ko doon sa aking column, pakituro nyo nga sa akin ang tunay, legitimate, authenticated, certifiable expert in COVID in the world. Kahit na si Anthony Fauci ng Amerika, who is respected as a virologist, contagion expert, etc. Sabi niya, walang expert dito. Bagong-bago ito . 12 to 18 months pa lang itong virus na ito. Anong expert pinagsasabi ng mga tao na yan? Tapos, sasabihin mo, aakuhin ng doktor? Doctors are committed to save lives. Why do you have to put on their shoulder the added burden and responsibility and guilt trip that if anything happens to the patient, they will be responsible? Who in his right mind would sign a document like that? Na kung may mangyari, pwede kang ma-strip ng license mo. Kung hindi man magdemanda yung pamilya, you could actually be stripped of your license. There is no compassion in this compassionate use of authority. Ewan ko, hypocrisy po meron. Anyway, bago magtuluyan yung aking blood pressure to tralala, let's bring in, ito naman, nakakakalma. Very scientific, very rational, hindi katulad ko nagiging emotional. Dr. Nina Gloriani, the head of the DOST Vaccine Expert Panel, expertise, immunochemistry, and microbial immunology. Doc Nina, good morning.
Morning po, Sir Cito. See you
Pasensya ka.
again.
Okay, tayo na naman dalawa, no? Pero
Okay
alam mo,
lang po.
actually talaga, Doc Nina, I've really been wanting to interview you because when we did that forum regarding vaccines, I was so impressed with your presentation and the fact that you were honest enough to tell us what vaccines were all about, which ones had a clinical study, etc. But you know what I realized? In spite of all our collective efforts to promote vaccination in the Philippines, we're getting hit left and right because we were all under the impression, o sige, yung Sinovac para sa mga bata, wag bibigay sa senior citizen at sa mga minor. Tapos doon tayo sa AstraZeneca lahat, tayong mga senior citizen. Biglang eto naman sabi, ay nako, AstraZeneca, nag-blood clot. So, mga bata, wag yung bibigyan ng AstraZeneca. Doc Nina, I give you the floor, the opportunity. Paki-explain nga sa amin, what should we know, what should we be afraid of regarding all of these vaccines?
Okay, iba-iba po sila, no? There's so many vaccines. They are all new, like what you said earlier. So, and many of them actually use yung new platforms, no? So, but anyway, for all of these vaccines, we look at in totality the safety, immunogenicity or capacity to elicit yung good immune responses, and we define good immune responses, efficacy. Mayroon pa tayo ng stability. Okay lang ba to sa kung anong temperature? And then yung scale up nila. Kaya ba nilang mag-scale up? So it is a totality of evidence. And we run through yung resulta nila sa clinical trials. Actually, preclinical pa lang sa animal studies, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And we make a totality of recommendations. Hindi po base on one parameter alone. Okay. And then, of course, dahil new, ito po nangyari sa AstraZeneca. Hindi po ito nakita sa clinical trials. Now, why do we, progress to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? Phase 1 is konti muna ng tao ang tinitest. Phase 2, another madadagdagan ng mas marami. And then phase 3 is thousands. No? But despite that, the thousands of individuals already tested, doon nag-roll out, when we say roll out, millions na ang mabavaccinate. Ang daming hindi madami. Well, in a way, madami. Lumabas na, eto, may clots. Pero if you look at the totality, yung total na injected, that's about 20 million. Eventually, ang naging computation is about 4 such events per 1 million. So, mababa po yan. Tignan na lang po natin, sabihin ko sa inyo, yung ibang mga risk ng blood clots, ito lumabas sa WHO. Ang risk ng blood clots pag uminom kayo ng birth control pill is about 500 per 1 million. As yung vaccine ng blood clot, it may not be AstraZeneca alone, ha? Kasi remember, may lumabas earlier about Pfizer. 2 cases yan. Mukhang nalilimutan ng ibang tao yan, and they're actually harping on AstraZeneca alone. Pero it could be any other vaccine. So yung sa birth control, yes, 500 to 1,000 per 1 million ang magba-blood clot dyan. Sa smoking, mas mataas po, halos 2,000 per 1 million. Smoking, ang laking factor po yan sa risk of blood clots. Pero sa COVID, meron din tayong blood clots. Pag nagkaroon ng tunay na COVID, di ba yan po yung may cytokine storm, yan yung maraming nagiging problema. It's so much higher. So yun po. So anong ginawa? Siyempre, yung sinasabi niyong EMA, European Medicine Agency, then we have the WHO, meron pa pong iba, yung MHRA, hindi ko na masyadong alam pa ano. Pero, siyempre, they investigated all of this. So, sampu yan o 60 yan, but I think there were around, close to around 100, composite, lahat na po, no? It still is very rare. And they have not associated this with any risk factor. Ang nakita lang nila so far ay mas madami sa women, mas madami doon below 60 years old. And then meron po silang ginawang modeling, kaya lumabas yung 30 years and below. So medyo mahirap-hirap na pong i-explain yun. But these are also based on sa modeling and medyo may scientific rin po. So yun po, no? So what to do now? Per WHO and of course even EMA, the benefits outweigh the risks. Yun nga sinasabi namin. Ano ba ang risk ng COVID itself? Even in producing, mas napakataas po. So dahil mayroon naman tayong bakuna, siguro siyempre malulungkot naman tayo kung tayo ang napalagay doon sa statistics, 4 doon sa 1 milyon. Pero the benefits far outweigh the risks. Yun po ang aming masasabi.
Okay, now, so at least for the AstraZeneca, kumbaga nag-iingat lang tayo dahil may mga taong nagkaroon ng symptom ng blood clotting. Were these serious blood clottings?
Yes, some of them, yes. Yung pong pumasok kasi ang mga blood clots pwedeng pumasok sa maliliit na mga blood vessels Doon po yan yung magbabara yan or actually bukod doon may bleeding pa po yung iba dahil bumaba yung platelets, no? So yung mga ganun po, of course, kaya sila pina-pause to investigate.
Okay. So ngayon, ito, pinatatanong lang ng news group, will we resume the use of AstraZeneca very soon? What do we need to have before resuming? Kasi, yun na nga, sabi, stop, freeze the ball, 2 weeks. Ngayon, paano na ba?
Yes, sir. Ang alam ko po, naglabas na ng advisory ang Group National Vaccine Operation Center ni Yusek Kapitahe. Well, of course, together with the FDA. So yung mga first dose pa lang, hindi pa muna po, no? Until, I think we will be, marami pong eksperto ang hinihingan ngayon ng rekomendasyon tungkol doon at hopefully lalabas po yun within this week. Kasama po kami, isa lang po kami, yung Vaccine Expert Panel, kasama po yung National Adverse Effect Following Immunization Committee ng DOH at marami pa pong iba, no? So, i-wait po natin yun. So, yung first dose pa lang, defer po yun until we get those recommendations out, which should be within the week. Yung second dose po, hindi bibigyan yung mga yung older. Yung bibigyan po yung older. Pero yung iba, kung gusto nilang now this is second dose na, medyo nalilito na tuloy ako, no? Bibigyan po yung first dose and second dose kasi yung hindi po first dose, hindi po muna yung second dose, kung wala silang naging epekto sa first dose, bibigyan po. So parang kasi ito pong shots na to, nakita more sa first dose within 2 to 3 weeks. 14 days to about 20. So yun po yung rekomendasyon. Within 4 to 20 days, kailangan itong mga nabakunahan ay mag-observe for any signs and symptoms of especially related to the blood clots. So ano po ito? Ano ba yung mga nakalista dito sa aking ano? Ang blood clots po kasi pwedeng may chest pain ka, depende kung saan pumunta, no? Pwedeng
Mm.
sa heart, sa lungs. So may chest pain, pwedeng may abdominal pain, may swelling, may mga ganun po. In cerebrovascular, of course, no? Mga symptoms na parang na-stroke. So yun po, titignan nila within 14 to 20 days. So yung 3 weeks na yon. And then for any such symptoms, diretso po doon sa nagbakuna, kung saan sila nagbakuna. Sila ang magre-refer po kung anong gagawin.
Okay,
Agad po
so
yan.
yung mga nabigyan na ng AstraZeneca, tapos wala namang naging complication after several weeks or 3 weeks yata yung sinasabi ninyo, at meron ng bagong dose, saka
Will
naman sila makakatikim ng final dose o yung
Yes, sir.
pangalawang
Ang
follow.
second dose.
Okay.
And thankfully, we still have time. Kasi
Yung-
mahaba ang window period niya.
Okay, kasi matagal pang darating yung second batch ng AstraZeneca. Maswerte na kung dumating ng Hunyo raw. In any case, okay, so what about yung hindi pa nakakatikim? Katulad namin, wala pa kaming Sinovac, wala pa kaming Astra. Most LGUs, Astra ang in-order. Pagdating nung second batch, who among us will be okay and allowed to use the AstraZeneca? Senior citizens?
Well, yes, sir. Yung senior citizens, yung below 60 yung pinapa-defer for the first dose. So either you get the the Astra, a senior, or you may opt to get the Sinovac. So yun po yung nasa guideline. Meron pong option.
Okay, now,
Nasa sa
okay, Doktora, have you, have the expert panels ba, meron ba tayong napipick up? Have we picked up adverse reactions? Because I actually got a message yesterday from a family in Caloocan na na-vaccinate daw ng Sinovac. And then next thing you know, nagkaroon na ng complications, etc., breathing problems, started throwing up, etc. Let's discuss this after a quick break kasi we want to find out ano ba yung mga lumalabas na problema dyan sa field. But please give me a minute. We'll be right back with you, Dr.
Yes, po.
Gloriani.
Opo.
Okay, we'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back with us here on Agenda, and our first guest, Dr. Nina Gloriani, DOST Vaccine Expert Panel Head. And okay, Dr. Nina, ito po, no, kasi itong Nicole Umandog Totani sent me a message on Facebook, and I think she sent it to several other media people na sinasabi nga po, no, na pagkatapos na bakunahan yung tatay niya dun sa may Caloocan, kinabukasan hospital na, at ngayon mukhang intubated na. Is this true? And if it's true, are there other cases of adverse effects regardless of the brand of vaccine?
Okay po. Ito pong case na to, I think, is only one so far na very severe, no? But it has been referred to, yun ang tinatawag ko kanina na NAFIC, National Adverse Events Following Immunization na committee. And they are already actually investigating it. Kasi, alam nyo po, ang lahat ng mga bakuna o lahat ng mga vaccination sites, pag dapat po may ganong information doon sa mga nabakunahan na kapag may naramdaman, agad ipaparating po dito sa first yung sa healthcare workers na nagbakuna, and then sila po mag-a-assess kung ano ang dapat gawin, kung ito ba ay severe enough, ipapasok po to sa hospital. So ang palagay ko lang po, nakita ko po kasi yung ano ba yon, yung reporting, meron pong konting naging delay sa pagsabi tungkol about this, sa pag-report about this. Ang posible pong effect ng vaccine ay baka hindi yung talagang vaccine, but magkakaroon po ng may ibang sakit yung pasyente kasi very soon after. Pero yun nga po yung soon after, yun yung dapat na-report agad. Nung nakita ko po, maraming pinagdaan ng iba-iba lumipat-lipat po. Yun po ang very sad about it. It's largely operational, pero tinitignan na po nung ating NAFIC ngayon. Kasi hindi po ito maganda.
Okay, mga kaibigan, I really respect and I really like Dr. Gloriani, no, dahil medyo talagang very professional siya. So I don't want people hating on her if she is going to explain and defend certain things. So, pero Doc Nina, matanong ko lang, no, kasi for disclosure, okay? Isa sa mga apo-apuhan ko, anak ng apo ng caretaker ko, many years ago, about 5 years ago, I think, nagpabakuna yan sa school, and within 24 hours, tumba na. Couldn't even stand up, paralyzed. And by the grace of God, by the help of the DOH, Dr. Garin at that time, talagang sinuportan, and the Philippine Children's Medical Center, no? Tinulungan nila Doc Julius dyan, inaayos talaga nila. Pero may tama na yung bata, no? And we lift it all up to God. But here's the thing, do we have a system in place for people to one way or the other i-report? Kasi syempre kung ikaw yung magulang, the last thing on my mind is to report it to Dr. Gloriani et al. Ang utak ko is, asikasuhin ko yung anak ko o yung ama ko. Now, you would imagine that this is incumbent on all hospitals and doctors na, teka, ano nangyari dyan? Nabakunahan po, ganito na. Ay, sandali, report na kagad to ngayon. Parang, walang is it in place?
Yes, sir. Yun naman po yung guidelines na nilabas. So siguro, iba pa po yung naglabas kayo ng guideline. Ito yung process ng pag-report. And that should be made clear even to the healthcare workers na nagbibigay po ng mga bakuna, no? Kailangan malinaw po sa kanila yung advice din sa tao o sa guardian kung sino yung kasama nung nabakunahan. Malinaw po yung guidelines na kailangan mag-report agad. Ang nangyayari po, kung minsan, hindi po yun yung nagiging nangyayari in the real world. Hindi po nagagawa. So kaya po nagkakaproblema. Yeah, that could have been avoided kung mabilis nakita at na-diagnose na. For all we know, yung nangyari, I think baka hypertensive yung mama, no? Yung father niya. And then nagtuloy-tuloy na kasi hindi po natignan agad.
Yeah,
but
Doc Nina, and I'm really trying to understand this, no? Do we have a way of telling? Kasi, okay, binakunahan mo ko. Pagkatapos biglang, ayan na, nilagnat na ako, nangisay na ako, tinakbo na ako, nagsusuka na ako. But do we have a way of telling whether or not it's vaccine related or whether it is something. Kasi dito, sinabi sa akin ng aming executive producer, si Gab Malyari, serious adverse event reported in Caloocan not caused by Sinovac, DOH, FDA. Parang, explain that to the Marines. Kasi yung mga mamamayan, sasabihin nila, excuse me, unless you present me something medically based, scientific, merong research, may laboratory works, hindi pwedeng mag-dismiss na lang.
Yes po. Kaya kailangan talaga po mayroong investigation for causality ang tawag natin. Ito ba ay dahil sa bakuna or something else na nagkataong nandun? Yung bang kahit hindi na bakunahan, pwede siyang nangyari.
Yeah, but how do we, Doc Dina, how do we tell if it is, may
hindi po
test
agad
ba?
hindi po agad masasabi. Kaya kailangan po ma-report and iimbestigahan kung ano talaga, kailan ba lumabas yung symptoms, ano yung symptoms, at ano ba yung laboratory, important din po na nakita, no? And how soon after, nung po pang bago magbakuna, ay may nararamdaman na to, napaka-importante po yung pre-screening and yung at the time of vaccination, ano nararamdaman mo bago kitang bakunahan? Kasi po, ang marami dito sa Sinovac or maybe even other vaccines, bago pa po magbakuna, mataas na ang blood pressure. So hindi po natin ma-attribute sa bakuna yon. Kasi po mayroong anxiety. Kahit anong sabihin natin, kahit anong bakuna pa yan, ang nababakunahan po may anxiety. Ako tumaas po BP ko bago ako magbakuna. So, but before yon, ang importante po ay ang bakuna, kung siya ang cause, ay after. And how many days do we have? May observation period po tayo. Yung immediate observation for any anaphylactic shock or yung mga immediate reactions, up to 30 minutes. Sometimes it could be extended to 1 hour. Pero po uuwi na tayo with a strict, yung tawag na reminder na kailangan po, obserbahan lang sarili. So with hanggang 2 weeks, even up to 28 days nga po yung dapat nagre-report for monitoring. Pero technically, 1 week okay na po. Meron tayong online na pwede mag-report.
Doc Nina, alam natin may indemnification program, etc. Alam natin na may mga nangyayaring kaso-kaso. Pag yan, napakialaman ng abogadong kamag-anak, magkakadimandahan. If it were brought to court, and a judge said, can somebody in the room please show me lab works, processes, do we have such a way na kumbaga talagang hindi pwedeng your word against their word? Pakita nyo sa akin. Makikita ba yan in lab works that this was caused by a vaccine or this was not caused by a vaccine?
Sir, kompleto po dapat ang information. The full clinical history, the medical history of the patient even before, and then any meds he has been taking, and laboratory works. Sana po nagawa yan. Dapat po lalabas lahat yan. Kung may court case po, lalabas po lahat yan. Hindi po pwedeng based on...
Pero at this stage, kung hindi nagawa yan, Doc Nina, and this was in March 28, if I'm not mistaken.
Yun po ang problema. Kasi you have to account for each day na nangyari. Nagsusuka, ano ang kanyang BP, vital sign. Kailangan pong tignan lahat yun.
Okay. Well, thank you, Doc Nina. Now, last 2 minutes tayo, Doc Nina. So, yung AstraZeneca, waiting na lang tayo. Yung mga nabakunahan na, pwedeng, kung walang adverse reaction, pwedeng makuha yung second shot. Paano na yung mga darating? Ano ba ang tingin ninyo? Pwede pa rin gamitin? Walang new developments?
Ang palagay ko pa, ang rekomendasyon ng international bodies ay itutuloy po. Kasi nga, mababa, it's a rare event. Syndrome is a rare event. I think baka ganun din po tayo.
Yung Sinovac, Sinopharm, etc. Medyo, honestly, ako, sinabi ko nung umpisa, kahit ano pang bakuna yan, isaksak nyo, payag ako. Pero ngayon, medyo hindi naman sa takot ako mamatay kasi I'm believing the Lord will receive me. Pero yung Sinovac, kamusta naman po? Ano ba ang performance in the field? Meron bang adverse reactions or anything?
Actually po, except for yung BP na sinasabi nila na pinapa-investigate bakit parang mas mataas ang increased BP, blood pressure, sa Sinovac versus AstraZeneca. Yan po ay report ng NAFIC natin, no? Pero hindi necessarily yun ang cause nga. Importante po malaman, tumaas ba ang BP bago o after? And susundan po yan. Increase in BP or talagang hypertensive siya. Magkaiba po
Okay.
yung mga definition.
Yun lang. Okay, quick question, Doc Nina, before you go. Kasi napansin ko lang yan doon sa doon sa mga vaccination sites. Sabi ko, pambihira naman, tanghaling tapat, it's summertime in the city. Kukulo ang dugo mo kahit hindi mainit ang ulo mo. Bakit
Totoo
tayo
po.
nagbabakuna ng gano'ng oras? Di po ba dapat parang early morning and maybe after 3? What are your thoughts on this,
Well,
Dr.
I think dapat po talaga umaga. And I think most of them are actually starting yung vaccination nila ng umaga. Baka po kasi maghapon. Siguro kung maghapon, ang hirap naman po kasi dahil din sa ating social distancing, kailangan doon sa bukas na lugar sila. Doon mas mainit. Wala pong aircon. So, yung mga papunta po, kailangan ready sila. Kung alam nila tataas ang BP nila, magdala ng tubig, uminom ng tubig, yung mga ganun po. Pero morning, maybe advise them to start earlier than 8 o'clock para po, ang init na nga. Tama po kayo, sir. Tama kayo.
Okay. Well, Doc Nina, thank you very much for your inputs and hope to see you soon on the program. And ingat ka rin, pare-pareho tayong medyo hinahunting nitong COVID na ito. Mga
Sige
laging...
po. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you
Salamat
very
po.
much, Doc Nina. Yan po si Doc Nina Gloriani, and we go straight to our next guest, Dr. Beaver Tamesis, Managing Director, MSD Philippines, Merck, Sharp, and Dome. Doc Beaver, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning, Doc Beaver. Thank you for, I'm fine. Thank you for accepting our invitation kasi medyo, I felt kind of, I found it weird, but everybody keeps talking about ivermectin and then there's new medicine, this new medicine that they're talking about now, molnupiravir pills. My friends keep sending it to me by Viber. Sabi ko, teka, para matigil na lahat itong mga speculation na ito, I will go to the guy from Merck. And that happens to be you. Can you please share your thoughts, the official position of Merck on the matter?
Well, thank you for giving us this chance to talk about this. Molnupiravir is actually a molecule that was discovered by this company called Ridgeback, and then we entered into a joint venture with them to rapidly develop the product. Mechanistically, or the biology of this, is that this molecule, this drug is able to insert itself into the replication or multiplication process of the virus. So tuloy, kakasingit doon so that the virus actually will interfere with how it reproduces itself. And by doing that, we're able to practically destroy the virus. The virus kills itself by suicide because every time it tries to duplicate itself, palpak. So eventually it dies. Now, the early studies the phase 1 studies were recently published. This was something like January, February this year, published, and that generated a lot of interest. And of course, we are very interested also in this molecule. It looks like it's very, very exciting. But the proof of the pudding is always in the eating, so we still have to see the actual results of our phase 2 trials. Hindi pa lumalabas. But I was a bit surprised myself with all of this press suddenly coming out. Why is everybody now talking about it when normally we don't discuss it until we actually have the results?
Well, actually, Doc,
promising, but I don't have the final results yet.
Yeah, but Doc Beaver, I think we can't fault people. If anything, it tells us the desperation. I mean, every morning I already dread opening my phone. I dread going on Facebook because it's like going to the obituary page. I mean, it is just so bad already. And in fact, well, I won't go into details. It's hit home already. Now, going back to our subject matter, so there's already a lot of talk regarding ano ito, molnupiravir pills. Okay, so it's a pill that you take or would take if it is approved, it passes muster. And is it really designed for COVID? Kasi I am trying to think FDA, puro challenge eh.
Right. The beauty with this particular molecule, it seems to work particularly well with the coronaviruses. Not
Mhm.
just this particular coronavirus, but potentially all the other coronaviruses that will be coming through.
Mm.
Remember, all our past pandemics or past threats, like the first SARS, the MERS-CoV that came up, these were all coronaviruses. And now, of course, this particular SARS-CoV-2. So it's really important that we have a molecule that potentially can treat all these viruses that potentially would become a future pandemic. So yes, it was basically designed for antivirus, and it's basically designed for these types of coronaviruses. We may see some benefit also in influenza, but for now, the focus is on coronavirus.
Okay, now you said stage one, then there's stage two, stage
Right.
three, etc. But in the Philippines, depending on who you're talking to, people are saying, maghihintay pa ba kayo ng stage one? Paano karamihan sa mga kamag-anak namin namamatay na? What's the situation? Is there a way of fast tracking this or finding out conclusively na pwede ito and this is the bullet, the silver bullet?
Well, actually, we've been fast tracking in quotation marks all our clinical phase trials.
Mm.
Simultaneous na nga nangyayari. In truth, if you're talking phase two strictly, phase two, you have phase 2A and phase 2B, where you
Mm.
do a dose ranging study, you try to find the right dose, and then you now expand that into a larger set of patients. In this particular phase, in this particular development, so far we've actually combined the two phase two studies. And then we're actually encroaching already into phase three. We're actually scaling up very rapidly. The Philippines, in fact, is participating in the phase two studies of this particular molecule. So obviously, we can't talk about the results or where the types of patients or the kind of results we've seen so far because everything's still blinded. We don't know nga yet the results, but we're hoping very, very soon that we should be able to get at least these initial results and have a pretty firm idea whether this will work in the future. So yes, it's promising. Pero yung pangako, hindi pa totoo. Di ba?
Mm.
Kailangan, we need to actually see it work first before we can
Okay.
go and promote it.
Assuming it works, what is its use? Is it a preventive medicine? Is it a curative medicine? Which one is it?
For now, we're looking at early treatment. So that means
Mhm.
if you've had early symptoms, now diagnosed ka na with SARS, the virus particles, you can start immediately, even before getting progressing illness, right?
Mm.
And because it's oral, it has the potential for outpatient management. It can potentially also be used in the inpatient patient, the hospital confined patient. So it has great potential dun pa lang if you actually have an outpatient treatment that actually works and destroys the virus so that the person is no longer contagious and no longer developing the progression of illness. There are also obviously future directions as to whether this can be expanded to even earlier. But that's, I think, purely speculative at this point. We still need to see the results in the first place of these early studies.
Yeah.
Tingnan natin kung talagang may bisa itong.
Yeah, because you mentioned that it can also be used for influenza para sa trangkaso. So
Yes.
does this mean that if it is for a much wider application with a market potential that is so huge, okay, does this mean that this would be a mass market product that is I'm sorry, okay? Kasi alam mo, I don't want to be broken hearted again. When they talked about remdesivir, I said, praise the Lord, thank you, oh God. Pagkatas lumabas na 150,000 pesos ba yung full treatment or 3,000 go ahead, go ahead.
That has changed. You're right. That was the pricing that we saw back in May, June last year. But today, in April, April 2021, the price per dose of 100 milligrams is down to 1,700 pesos.
Of remdesivir.
So
Ay,
times five,
salamat. Oh.
times six, you're talking about a treatment worth less than 8,000 pesos.
Ay, salamat. Oo. Kasi broken-hearted ako. Pinaganda mo na naman yung araw ko.
That's the beauty of competition. Because
Mm.
currently we have more than 5 distributors all competing to distribute and sell their brand with the different hospitals.
Okay.
So that's where competition works. That's a strong reason why you do not need price regulation.
Okay, good for you. And we'll go for a quick break, Doc Beaver. And when we return, I just want to find out what do you think would be the range of this molnupiravir, God willing, if it comes out. I mean, guesstimate lang. And kung hindi pwede, hindi pwede. But then let's go to ivermectin. But we'll go for a quick break here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, and with the assistance of PLDT Home Fiber Internet. And magpakabit na po kayo. Double, may gandang combination yan. Let's go back to Dr. Beaver Tamesis, and let's talk about the potential price of molnupiravir.
Well, at this point in time, we really don't know. All right,
Okay,
we really
okay.
don't know what the price is. I can tell you though, in a pandemic situation, nobody is safe until everybody is safe. So we need to make sure first that one, everybody gets vaccinated. That's to those who can tolerate and accept the vaccine. Number two, we make these new treatments as reasonable and accessible to everybody. So we have to talk with government, we have to talk with the private sector to make sure that we come to an agreement in terms of supply, how much volume we can deliver, and then at which price point we will come in. We're also looking at whether or not we should do voluntary licensing, meaning allowing other companies to manufacture the drug so that the prices can come down. Not even charging them, potentially, we might not even charge them royalty fees. All right? And I think that's what's happening with Gilead and remdesivir. Kaya tuloy bumagsak na yung presyo from the 120, 150,000 price tag before down to like less than 10,000 pesos for a course of treatment. The beauty of competition does that. That's why it's important that we allow the market forces to come in, and responsible companies such as ours will always look for ways to deliver this particular type of drug, the life-saving potential, to the mass market who needs it.
Well, it also helps if you have a mass market kasi volume. It's always about volume. Kung
And-
titingi-tingiin, syempre, mahal.
Yeah, and in a pandemic, I think we have all the volume, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now, Doc Beaver, I know that this has annoyed you to no end. Itong ivermectin, but please, humor me if it must be. Okay, but there are a lot of people who seriously believe that it's helping them. A lot of people who are, and doctors, mind you, who are convinced that it is helping their patients. And so medyo marami ng mga galit na. And we cannot have passions overtake logic. What is the position of Merck as far as that product that you guys created called ivermectin?
Ivermectin is a fantastic antiparasitic agent. It has very little to no effect for viruses. Period. Full stop.
Mhm.
We have reviewed all of the data, repeated data that people keep saying that is evidence that it works. I'm sorry, the levels of evidence do not come up to standard. Evidence is judged by the quality. You have evidence pyramids, what we call an evidence pyramid, where at the apex or the top of the pyramid is systematic reviews of quality randomized controlled trials. A randomized controlled trial is the study agent, in this case ivermectin, versus placebo or an inactive sugar pill
Mm.
to see if there's any difference in the effect. And so far, well done randomized controlled trials are showing no difference between a sugar pill and ivermectin in
Mm.
terms of COVID-19. In terms of parasites, fantastic. Wala ka ng galis.
Mhm.
It's a great galis agent.
Okay.
But in terms of actually reducing symptoms of COVID or actually stopping the virus, I'm sorry. It's great that they've perceived that they benefited, but I think we can call that a placebo effect.
Okay. Now, what about, because pasensya ka na, Doc Beaver, no? I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but kasi they keep mentioning compounding. And when you say compounding to Beltran, I am thinking of, combination, mixing, formula. How different is the Merck or your former product? I don't think it's your product anymore, right? The former product, ivermectin, compared to the compounded product that's being promoted out there?
Well, I think that's a situation where people take animal directed or developed products with their own formulation, with whatever strengths are put in and the other excipients or powders that are added in, and then they
Mm.
try to extract only the pure ivermectin molecule.
Mm.
So, because right now in the Philippines, the only legal or the only registered ivermectin products are animal products for
Mm.
animal husbandry, and for pets, for
So
dogs.
wala talaga nung for humans, ha, Doc Weaver?
Never been imported before. Before this pandemic started, there was no registered ivermectin for humans. All the ivermectin in the Philippines was registered for animal use.
Mm. So you're saying that the ivermectin in the Philippines for animal use is being processed so the kumbaga no sinasala the whatever nila lab works para makuha to get the pure ivermectin molecule and get rid of the rest.
I don't know for a fact that that's happened, but I suppose if people have ivermectin, either it's parallel or imported, or they're doing something with the locally available formulations.
Okay, now what about, because I'm thinking, no, pasensya ka na, Doc Beaver. I'm thinking, hey, if I'm Merck and a bunch of people are saying, "Oh, it works against COVID," I would press the button, call the lab people, "Hey, you guys work on this because that's our product. We started that. We should be able to be on top of this. What's going on?"
Exactly like I said, we've been reviewing all of the data that's been coming in. We did our own internal studies. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, it just doesn't pass muster.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work.
Okay, kasi right now, the other key issue is there are critics who are lambasting pharmaceutical companies and saying, oh, big pharma is behind this. They don't want a mass market product or a solution to COVID-19. What say you, Doc Beaver?
Dexamethasone is a product that is born out of the research efforts of academicians, of hospitals. It is highly generic. Decadron, pa nga yung ibang brand name niya. Yet
Mm.
it is a drug that actually proves that they can reduce mortality by 30%. Hey, that's a fantastic result. All of us would be extremely happy to have something like that.
Mm.
So I can now direct my research efforts naman to other diseases like Alzheimer's, like
Mm.
cancer. All
Yeah.
of those still require attention, right? It
Mm.
would be fantastic if repurposed drugs actually work. But in this particular case, the sad truth is, wala. There is no effect. So why will anybody spend any time on this? Now, if somebody like a Bill and Melinda Gates would like to spend their money on this, by all means, go ahead.
Okay.
But
Well.
fund properly designed and scaled up study with enough patients so that you can prove the truth, right? Because
Mm.
it could be the luck of the draw. Sinerte that this one particular patient gumandang pakiramdam versus the next patient na wala. That's why you need the randomized controlled trials to
Mm.
actually prove that fact.
Okay, well, at least you clarified that point, and you gave us a hope for molnupiravir, and you restored my faith that medicine can be affordable in the country. Na dati 150,000 yung treatment dose ng remdesivir, ngayon 8,000 na lang. Well, thank you very much, and looking forward to great news from you, Dr. Beaver, as well as your colleagues. Please have a great day, great week, and please take care of yourself.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Okay, yan po si Dr. Beaver Tamesis. His company, or the Merck Sharp and Dome, they're the ones who formulated, came out with ivermectin for humans and for animals. So as far as the Philippines is concerned, walang ganyan sa Pilipinas na for human unless in-import yan by some persons. Kumbaga tayo, parang nag-i-import pa ng baby root from America kasi walang makita dito sa Pilipinas. Parang ganun po yun, no? In any case, as far as their company is concerned, siyempre, kung iisipin naman po ninyo, pagkakaperahan nila yan eh. Sila yung nag-imbento. They're the ones who formulated the medicine. They came up with it. And who in his right mind won't jump at an opportunity to use that product for COVID? First, you're serving and saving humanity. Plus, if you actually came up with a medicine that's that good, wow, bingo! Baka biglang patirahin na yan si Dr. Beaver sa Amerika at sabihin, great job, Beaver. You can have your own yacht. Kasi yun po pagkakaperahan. And look, I'm not shooting down our friends who are pushing for ivermectin. I'm with you. I am pushing hard. That's why in my column on Talk in the Philippine Star, I pointed out itong Compassionate Use Authority sablay kasi walang compassion. Kung yung burden, if the burden of responsibility, legal liability is placed on doctors, who in his right mind would even step up to do it? Number two, yung sinasabing clinical trials. If the vaccines themselves do not fully comply with established world standards, health standards for formulating vaccines, and everything is on emergency use authorization, then please don't stop citing clinical, nako po, etc., etc. So there is no compassion there that is looking for a fall guy and creating obstacles. If you cannot be part of the solution, please do not be part of the problem. I am not addressing this to any person in particular. I am addressing this to the system. The system needs to change. Okay? So, 9:00 na po. Goodbye, Salidumay. Have a nice day. God bless all of you.